Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to PBTV. I'm Stu, and we're live on Facebook and YouTube. So we've not touched HPA for a while, so I thought I'd bring this out. We have a new variant in. So we've seen the Recoil TIPPMANN, we've seen the CO2 variant. So this is the Omega-PV with the 0.13 CI bottle pre-fitted. So with the Recoil variant, you have the line going into the bottom, felt recoil, all pneumatic, there's no electronics in it, whereas these ones are slightly different. You either have a couple of CO2 bulbs in the stock and a 9-volt battery in the grip, or you have this setup, which is a small HPA bottle screwed directly into the back, and again a 9-volt little battery in the grip, and you are good to go. It's all electro-pneumatic, so there's various different controls you can do. You can change some features, mess around with it a little bit, but it does mean that you can run HPA without a line, but you're not running on just a couple of CO2 bulbs. So it's going to last you a bit longer. Obviously, the stock has to be in a certain configuration. So it's that sort of middle ground between having a line in it and being able to run and gun all day as much as you want, or you just have a smaller bottle, no line, but it's not a little bit more than a few CO2 bulbs. So I'll go through this thing's other features, where it sits airsoft-wise, with its internals, etc. If you've got any questions, by all means, drop them down below and we will answer them as quickly as possible. So, as normal, same with most AEGs, it does have a 14mm counterclockwise thread, so you can put all your accessories and everything on there. If you want to put a tracer unit on there, will be very, very cool. So coming back to the rail, so there is a CQB and a carbine variant. The inner barrel is a slightly different length in either one, but I'll come on to that shortly, and obviously the rail is slightly different. So we do have a M-lock sort of hexagonal style rail here. So you've got M-lock on the right, left, bottom, and at the angles. So I do believe these are genuine M-lock, so you can fit bits at the angles as well, rather than just sticking to the sides. You do have normal 20mm riz going across the top that matches into the receiver, and we do have spring-loaded flip-up iron sights pre-fitted. They're ready to go out the box. Again, with M-lock, you can get M-lock direct parts that will click straight into this. If you don't have M-lock parts and you want a bit of riz, you can just add bits of riz exactly where you need it. What that helps with is the actual riz sections. If this was a quad rail, it'd be much thicker in sort of vertical and horizontal directions. It'd be a bit heavier. It'd be a bit more awkward to wield and things like that. So if you are wanting an accessory and you haven't got M-lock, you can just fit a bit of riz exactly where you want it. Reaper back as he is every day. Hi, this is cool. Will it have variable FPS? Yes. So there's a few electronics and physical controls that you have on this. The rate of fire is electronically controlled. The FPS is physically controlled. So internally, there's a Allen key. The correct Allen key is in the box because it is an Imperial Allen key. So just be aware of that when you're adjusting it. That allows you to adjust the FPS internally. It goes anywhere from about 300 FPS to about 340. So again, you'll be able to run this in CQB and outdoors perfectly fine. Rate of fire wise, it's not a gradual rate of fire change. You have 3 different settings. So you've got 10, 15 and 25 rounds per second, and that's changed and controlled with various presses and turns of the trigger and the fire selector. There is a very detailed instruction manual that goes through absolutely everything. You've got to hold the trigger for 5 seconds, turn it to a certain setting, press it. Inside the trigger guard, you can see through, and there's a little LED. The color of that LED is what differentiates between your 10, 15 and 25 rounds. Again, if you go into a site that doesn't allow a high rate of fire, it allows you to drop it. FPS wise, if you're running outdoors at one game, you then go to a CQB site that's 328, you're able to change it. Just be aware that some sites may need tournament locks or certain precautions so you don't change it in game. Airsoft's a game of honour, so again, it's one of them things. If you're not trusting players with their platforms that they're using, then it's by the by. So gone over the rail section. So we've got M-lock and we've got Jonathan on YouTube. This is great. I'm looking to get my first HPA. I've been eyeing these up and been recommended one off the shelf setup. Yeah. So again, this is the TIPPMANN setup. There is Wolverine, there's Polestar, there's everything out there. Have a look around, check all the features. The main pro versus con on this. Obviously, if it was one of the other systems, say the recoil system, you have the line coming out it, you have a bottle, you have a line, you've got all that business to contend with. Some people don't like the line, it gets in the way, it detracts from the game a little bit maybe. That's just personal preference. Others think it's totally fine. And again, the efficiency and consistency between shot of HPA is probably second to none. Your other option is one of these with a line out of it, so you can run all day, and you have a 9-volt battery in here to control it. You then have a CO2 variant, which has a pod in the back that has 2 CO2 bulbs in it. Your limitation on that is about 180 to 190 rounds, and then you have to change the CO2. It's quite easy to do, and I know a lot of people that run it, and they can do it as quick as almost changing a mag, or you can get spare capsules to drop in. This one, you've got a 0.13 CI bottle on here, so it's not as big as one of the big ones that's going to have a line and be in your backpack or all like that, but it is larger than 2 CO2 bulbs, so you're going to get a few more rounds out of it. How many rounds, I can't say, because it depends on FPS, rate of fire, various different things, and it's not a set number. It is going to be different depending how you've got this set up. So coming back to the receiver, it is right-handed dominant, so you do have a mag release on the right-hand side, fire control on the left. The fire control, it is very well detented, so when it is in place, it is stuck, but it does feel very light. Andrew on Facebook, how heavy is she compared to an AEG? So this one comes in at about 2.5 kilos-ish, and I will say that most of that is back here. Obviously, there's no gearbox in it. The rail is aluminium. The front end, when it's in the box, the bottle's not in it, and you pick this thing up, is exceptionally light. So most of the weight is back here because these bottles are steel, I believe. So when this thing's shouldered, all that weight's going to be sat on your shoulder really, really far back. So the center of gravity is going to be far back. So holding this thing is actually not going to be that much of a chore. So on paper, yes, it's 2.5 kilos, but with it all being quite at the back, it is very manageable. Most of without any of the weight being on the front end, when you're swinging this round corners through doors, it's not going to overthrow, or you're not fighting the weight of it because it's all back here. So the balance is very, very nice and a bit more focused towards the back. Hop-wise, pulling this back, we do find a very good rotary hop. Again, always going on about rotary hops being slightly better than the gear ones. They are much less likely to adjust. Jonathan on Facebook, what's the shot count out of the stock bottle? Unfortunately, I can't really say exactly how many it's going to be. Again, it all comes down to the setups inside, changing the FPS, changing the rate of fire and things like that. And to be honest, I've never actually burnt a full bottle out on one of these, so I couldn't really say. I will try and find out if they have a rough estimate on all their settings, and I'll try and find your comment afterwards and give you a reply. But it is going to be more than the 2 CO2 bulbs, and normally you get about 190 to 210-ish rounds out of 2 CO2 bulbs, but this is going to be massively more than that. So you are going to get a fair few mags. Again, I can't really say how many. Speaking of mags, with this out, it is a standard AEG style magazine. There's nothing proprietary about it. I know the old TIPPMANN recoils used to come with the CO2 one, but again, it was still a standard mag. So it is 120 rounds, and any normal AEG mag will fit in it. So if you want in high caps, you want in other mid caps, they will all fit. So any of your New Pro ones, any of the TIPPMANN ones, high caps, drum mags, mega mags, absolutely anything will fit in this, and you are good to go. So if you want in loads of mags, you can get loads of mid caps. If you want in a drum mag, anything like that. Can you get this two-tone? Yes, you can get absolutely anything you want two-tone. Just make sure you select which colour you want. There's a drop-down menu, and 9 times out of 10, it is the rail, the receiver, and probably the stock that gets painted. Once things have been up for long enough, they do have a representation of how they are two-toned on the website, but it is a representation. It is not a picture of a two-toned platform. It's just indicating the parts that are painted, just so you get an idea. And there is red, green and blue available, and then non-two-tone like this. So as I was saying earlier, the trigger is not locked when it is on safe, because it is a micro switch and technically a kind of computer style system in here. So even when it's on safe, it will pull. Fire selector on the left, so you get safe, semi and full auto, and this is how you do all the controls. Underneath here, you probably won't be able to see it on camera, it's a very small hole, but through here there is a little LED, so when you plug your battery in, that lights up, showing that it's got a good connection, and obviously the colour of it when you go through all the settings differentiate between which setting it's in, so you can have 10 rounds, 15 rounds or 25 rounds a second, I believe. Charging handle, again, set to being right-handed because the catch is on this side. And then we have the other flip-up spring-loaded rear sight. Again, these are dual-purpose, so when they are down, they're almost set up like pistol sights. So you've got a very small bit at the front and the sort of drop down at the back. Flipping it up, you get the aperture, and on the front, you get the pin. So when they are down, they work, and when they are up, they work. So with them folded away, they're good to go, and then you've got plenty of space for your optics, T1s, magnifiers, all that kind of stuff. The grip itself, obviously, there's going to be no motor in it. Jonathan, how easy to fill a tank? Is it similar to filling PCP air rifles? Most airsoft sites now do have sort of scuba tanks and adapters, so there is a little, you could probably sit on that side. So that is the fill point on these, and then you have a gauge on this side for its PSI. At Proving Grounds, because it is a paintball site originally, we do have free air fills, so you can come along and fill it as much as you like throughout the day. Most air rifle shops will fill these up. It's quite easy, and obviously if you want, these do screw out, so if you're wanting spare 1-3 bottles, you can get spare ones and swap them out if you're going to somewhere that doesn't have air fills. Most people get themselves a scuba tank, like a 7-litre or something like that, between a team, or if you've got a couple of guys that you know that have all got HPA, you can pull together and get yourself a scuba tank to get loads and loads of fills out of it. So coming to the stock, obviously it is the HPA bottle itself, and we do have an oversized stock. The actual bar on the bottom is actually on a hinge, so when you do take this off, this drops away, meaning it's a lot easier to get. So all these, your gauge and your blow-off valves and your fill valve don't get caught on it, so when you do take the stock off, this drops away, you can just unscrew it and it is all sealed in there. Please be aware, we have put a new rule in at Proving Grounds that when you come to Chrono HPA bottles, HPA systems, we have started now checking everyone's bottle that it is in date. So all HPA bottles are lifed for being tested, being pressure tested and everything like that. And there's been many occurrences where people don't know that. They're getting into HPA, they don't quite know all the information that's out there, so we're trying to educate them as well as keep them safe. So we are checking the date on them and make sure it is in that 5-year date, and then we just put a little sticker on it that we know it's been checked. Again, if you are getting into HPA, please be aware that there are many different rules and everything when it comes to pressure systems, that after 5 years, when these are made, they have to be retested or get a new bottle, otherwise it is unsafe. And then when you go into sites and everything, if you go into a paintball site, if you come into Proving Grounds, by all means, pull us to one side and we're happy to talk about it and everything like that. We want everyone to be safe, and a lot of people want to get into these systems because they know how good they are. So a few internals on it as well. Obviously, it is an electronic trigger, so the trigger response is exceptionally good. And on the grip here, pulling this little switch down, this is how we get to the battery control system. So with it being electro-pneumatic, you do need a battery in here as well, and out the box is a 9-volt. Can you get spare bottles? Yes. So with the stock, if I can just slide this off, it's going to be quite difficult on camera, but sliding this off, and then as I was saying, this bit drops down, and you simply unscrew this, and this is a standard HPA 0.13 CI bottle. So if you had spare ones of these, once you'd run out and say they don't do HPA, you can just unscrew it, or they don't do HPA fills, you can just simply unscrew it, throw your other one on, and you are good to go. Make sure it's tight on there because it is sealed. You don't have to overdo it. Once it does stop, that's it, and then you are good to go, and then all you do is slide your stock back on. Nice and easy. Very simple and quite easily doable in-game as well. So you are then good to go. You've got a brand new fresh bottle on there. And again, you're just going to stay in-game a lot longer. With these as well, with the fill pot as well, it is totally fine to fill these whilst they're attached. There's no need to take them off or anything like that. But yeah, so if you do have any other questions, by all means drop them down below. We'll get to them. I'll go over a few other features and repeat some that I went through earlier in case someone's missed it. I know there's some people joining now. So I did say earlier, it is a 14mm counterclockwise thread at the front, meaning you can put all your tracer units, anything that you want on there that makes it really cool. Start shooting laser beams everywhere. Everyone loves that. The CNC'd aluminium rail at the front is M-lock on the right, left, bottom, and on the angles. So these angled ones, sometimes the way these are cut, the M-lock parts don't work. I do believe they have been cut properly on this one, so it will work. 20mm rail all the way across the top, and you do have a flip-up front sight, spring-loaded, so you just simply press the little tabs on the side, and you're good to go. The front one is a pin, and it does work when it's lowered down into a pistol-style sight. Internally, with the carbine variant, you do have a 270mm inner barrel. With the carbine one, it's about 250mm, so 270 to 250. So the inner barrel is a slightly different length, as well as the rail and the outer barrel. So I was on about earlier, the receiver is full metal. You do have a magazine release on the right hand side, fire control on the left, and pulling the charging handle back, you do find a rotary style hop. Very well, very good to set, especially in HPA systems. You do get quite a force going down. There's nothing to push back on. Again, there's the whole dual creep thing going on with every platform has dual creep, but HPA seems to have a little bit more sort of comment about it, with it being such a potent system and efficient system as well. You are going to get very, very consistent follow-up shots between each round, and your accuracy and consistency is going to be absolutely incredible as well. So all in all, with it set up as it is now, it's about 75 centimeters long, so it is a long beast, and with it all the way out, it's probably just a smidge over 80 centimeters as well. So it is a big platform, so helps with me and my big gangly arms. I can run around with this quite easily, and I do prefer the sort of longer rails as well. It's easier to sort of clamp this thing down and get some clean follow-up shots on it. The grip itself, I was saying earlier, Kevin on YouTube, can you use bigger bottles? You could, but you then wouldn't be able to put a stock on it, and it would be massively awkward. If you're wanting to use a bigger bottle, you're probably best off just using a remote line and doing it that way, because a bigger bottle on here is going to be out here. You'd have to remove the guide on the bottom, and you wouldn't be able to run a stock, and it'd look a little bit crazy. The 13 CI are designed for this kind of setup. If you are wanting a bigger bottle, I'd just go for a different platform. This has been designed specifically to run this system. If you wanted to change it up and use something else, I'd use the other system, if that makes sense. So with the remote line ones that go into a backpack, you could probably get a 0.4, like a 45 CI. So it is a lot bigger, like a lot bigger, so it is going to last a lot longer. But again, with these are designed for convenience and running without a line. So that's just how it sits. The grip itself, dropping that down, I was saying there's a battery compartment here for a 9-volt battery. Sits in there and you are good to go. Obviously, you're going to need quite a few of them, because I don't think you can really get many rechargeable 9-volt batteries nowadays. But again, there is very, very, very little power used to operate this. So your main concern is making sure you've got enough air. But yeah, I'm really impressed with these. They are exceptionally consistent out the box, anywhere from sort of 300 to 340 FPS. Again, you've got that adjustable rate of fire through the trigger system that's controllable. So you've got 10, 15, and 25. So it's not a gradual system. It is set in 3 different parts, and then you are good to go. But this is the Omega-PV bottle variant. So you do have the bottle variant, the CO2 variant, and then you've got the TIPPMANN recoil as well, that's got no electronics in it at all, and is purely air driven. So there's plenty of options out there to pick which system that you're after. Gives you a bit of freedom, gives you the choice of getting exactly what you're after. So if that's everything for today, we will leave it there. Cover quite a lot there, and it's always good to talk to you in the chat. I love it when people join in. It makes my life a lot easier. If there's anything you want us to talk about, by all means drop us a message on Instagram. We're quite happy to throw your choice up the list rather than talk about what we want to, and then we'll be back again this Friday about 4 p.m. For another standard live stream. But until then, I'll see you in a bit. Bye.